We were talking earlier in the show about the realistic possibility of this. We're talking about $1 trillion worth of investment out of SoftBank. Put that into context for us.
Well, this story poses a lot of questions, to your point. What you can't do is fault Masayoshi Son of SoftBank for his ambition, and it is absolutely gigantic, isn't it? $1 trillion, and he wants to recreate a kind of Shenzhen in the US. Potentially alongside TSMC, of course, the foundry, and, of course, Samsung as well. We haven't heard comments from them. The money that would be involved, where would that come from? Private capital. SoftBank doesn't have the capital, clearly, to fund that. Portfolio companies, part of the reason he wants to do this is to ensure that there is the supply chain for his own portfolio companies and make sure that they are lifted and elevated on this front. You would imagine that OpenAI would have a piece to play, as would ARM as well, that is moving closer into data centers in terms of their CPUs aligning with AI accelerators. It's an absolutely gigantic plan at a time, of course, when TSMC already has its investment commitments in Arizona in terms of building out a foundry there. So lots of questions that go with this, but I think it's a reminder, number one, of trying to hit the sweet spots when it comes to President Trump's ambitions to build out that manufacturing in the US. And you would have thought that at least top line he would welcome this. And we know that there have been conversations between Massa and Howard Lutnick of the Commerce Secretary, of course, in the US. So it hits that and it ticks that box in terms of Trump's ambitions. But we do need to find out where the capital is coming from, where the spending is coming from, and whether indeed they can get the talent and the engineers not just to build all these projects, but actually to operate them as well, which has been a constraint and a bottleneck in the US.
Yeah, and there's also a massive debate about whether this is exactly the right way to spend that money. It's a huge amount of money to throw at the problem, right? And clearly, Masayoshi Son, very observant of his own legacy here, but is this really the way to do what he wants to achieve? Well,
it's a reminder that we're still in this environment where the infrastructure of AI is front and centre for these executives. You have the spending plans in terms of the sovereign data push that's really being led by OpenAI and SoftBank in the UAE, and you had Trump announcements around that, hundreds of billions of dollars. You've had hundreds of billions committed already to data centres in the US. You've had a trickle in terms of what's been committed in Europe and the UK. The focus on making sure the infrastructure is in place so you can kind of drive down costs and make sure that you can diffuse this technology as widely and broadly as possible still seems to be front and centre.